What is up, everybody? Welcome back. This is not an NBA rundown, but I am graced and so excited with the presence of JJ, the CLV master. He's killing MLB and he's been killing tennis. He's here with me today. JJ, what did you think of Manic Monday? I know that it's not officially over, but it's pretty close as we're watching Tomljanovic up a break here in the second set.
I would consider this, dare I say, not so manic. I mean, a lot of favorites, winning today. Sure, I think there was a few brief upsets which we'll get into, but for the most part, it was a lot of favorites. And to be honest, spread. I mean, even going back to the French Open and the clay run, there has been a lot of favorites coming through. And I know this is a sport where you can often find a significant amount of value with underdogs. Just recently, at least over the last month or two, been a lot of favorites coming through. We've kind of seen that a lot in this tournament as well. But yeah, like I said, I don't consider this as much of a manic Monday as maybe it often could be. I'm interested to talk on how some of these matchups play out for the next few days.
Yeah, and potentially the last one, barring some rain or something, as from now on, middle Sunday will be played on. So that I think that's a good change for Wimbledon. Most people are off on Sunday. Let's go ahead and have some tennis to watch. Today, let's go over the matches that we saw, and I'll just get your quick thoughts. Berrettini continues to roll. I'll tell you what, JJ, I was looking at FanDuel before we got on. Djokovic versus Berrettini is plus 340. I mean, seems like he's looking pretty good. What did you think of Berrettini so far? And am I crazy for wanting to bet him to go all the way to the final?
No, I mean he's going to be a tough out for anybody who plays him. Obviously, the big serve makes anything he does within his own service game is very forgiving at times. But I mean, he dropped one set all tournament?
Right.
Now, granted, look at his path. Right, it's been pretty easy. Right. I mean, I don't think he's. I mean, if you consider Bedin a top player, I think rank might be inside the top 50, but outside of him, I mean, he's really played a bunch of what I'd consider soft matchups, and he'll get a little bit of a tougher matchup, and we'll go into it. I believe he plays Felix in the next round. Right. But even Felix, like I'd argue. He's another young player that, you figure will deal with nerves. You'd figure a guy like Berrettini will have his way with Felix as well. But, yeah, it's hard not to like what you've seen from him. I think from a strength of schedule standpoint, he's had it quite easy, though. But, yeah, I mean, based on how the matchups draw out, especially with Zverev leaving as well, it's not crazy to think that you'll get him and Djokovic.
All right, yeah, plus 340 at FanDuel, something I've definitely got my eye on here. Karen Khachanov or Karen Khachanov, I don't know how you pronounce. I know it's Khachanov on the last name. I don't know how the first name goes. Took out the last remaining American, Sebastian Korda, who's been quite the story here, and that was quite the match. I would argue that it was the best match of the day. I don't even think you'll even get a lot of argument there, right? 10-8 in the fifth. Khachanov was not looking to be in good form going into the tournament, but something I'd argued with the guys on the pods was that just his game is so tailor-made for grass. Regardless of the bad results, he could turn it on, and that's what we've seen so far. What did you think of Khachanov? And maybe just we should definitely talk good about Korda, because just because he lost today doesn't take away all the good stuff that he did last week.
Yes, I mean look at the guys Karen's beaten to get here, right? I mean, granted, McDonald's a bit of a pushover along with Jeremisov, but Tiafoe's been in pretty good form, and look, he sees Korda today, who's been in really good form and whose game is really built purely for grass with how well he moves the big serve. But yeah, look, went up against every punch. I'd argue you saw some nerves from him today. Definitely tightened up quite a bit, had multiple opportunities to serve out the match. Now, granted, the match became a bit of a back and forth late. I think there was like a total of 6 breaks through the first 4 sets, and then in set 5 there was like 14 total breaks or 16 breaks. So just kind of crazy, but look, as far as mentally he pushed through, and again, it looked like he tightened up a bit, though. It's something worth considering for how he advances from here. But his form has been great, and you're right, his game is also tailor made for this surface. With the big serve, and he's another one that maybe he doesn't move as well as a guy like Korda, but he still moves well enough on grass, especially with how the surface can slow it down just a little bit versus hard court. But no, I mean, it's hard to not like what you've seen from him. Now, granted, now the elevation of talent he's going to be playing is going to only go up from here. So you worry about that a bit with him. But he's an excellent player who's looked really good here. Good for him as well, because his form's kind of been Jekyll and Hyde this season. So it's nice to see him kind of really find himself now at Wimbledon.
Yeah, and the thing I'd want to say about Korda, he looked fantastic last week, and I'm almost happy that he went out today, because now you and I, as gamblers, are going to be able to get some good prices on him on the early tournaments going to the U.S. Open. Whereas if he
Yeah.
had made the semifinals and played like a standalone match that everybody watched, maybe we would have lost some of that value. I felt like Kostayuk was one of those when she lost in the French. I said, well, I was rooting for her, but the nice thing is we're going to be able to get good numbers on her going forward. So Court is definitely something. I think his game's going to translate fantastic once he comes back over to the States here for that run. So Court is going to be someone that I think that we will be betting on a lot during the little 1 month swing we got coming up. Biggest upset of the day so far on the men's side, maybe, I don't know. Zverev is arguable too, but Fucsovics getting past Rublev. Rublev was someone who was in great form coming into the tournament. You have to rate this victory, I would say, for Fucsovics. But of course, he's got a tough match going forward. Did you watch that match? I actually didn't see that one.
Yeah, so towards the end, it just seemed like Rublev's form just completely went to shit late in that match, especially the fourth set. I mean, how often do you see a guy like Rublev get donutted against a guy like Fucsovics? But at the same time, credit to him, he's played really well in this tournament. I think didn't Fuch also knock off Schwartzman in the last match? I think previously, you got that right. Yeah. So and then he beats Vesely. Well, Vesely kind of, and then Sinner as well. So I mean, he's had quite a tough path here.
You know what though? Those are all big names that aren't good on grass.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But,
I mean, Sinner's game definitely hasn't matured yet at this. I do think he'll become. I think he's only 19 or 20. So as his game matures, he's got the tools to be a better grass player than he's been thus far. But yeah, I mean, and Vessi's got the big serve too, but Vessi's just way out of form. But yeah, I mean, look, you can't downplay who he's played thus far. I don't think anyway. The issue is I think now he runs into Djokovic, if I'm correct.
Yeah, he's plus 2,000 on FanDuel right now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a shame because it's likely that this is where the run ends. But yeah, I mean, with the form he's in, if he can maintain this level of play, he'll at least push Djokovic to a bit of a struggle. But yeah, I mean, this should be the spot where he finally lays down.
Yeah, I talked to Susie real quick. She was mentioning maybe a plus 2.5 sets for Fucsovics. You think he could grab one against Joker?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with me at this stage of the tournament betting guys to grab a set against Djokovic is you're really just kind of handicapping the mental headspace of Djokovic because there's no business he has losing a set here. But again, if he kind of gets frustrated with himself for whatever reason, just trying to checks out of a set and then just kind of rolls from there. You don't know when that could happen. It shouldn't. It usually doesn't with him. But look, I mean, Djokovic even dropped a set early in the tournament, in the first round, right, to the young kid. Granted, the young kid served really well, but Djokovic wasn't doing much on break points in that first set, and then turned it on. He hasn't lost a set since. Yeah, I mean, I can't mind that bet entirely, but it won't be one I'll be making. I don't like betting people to hopefully steal a set off Djokovic because again, you're really handicapping Djokovic's mental space at that point. His ability should be able to easily 3-0 Fuch.
Yeah, I mean, unless like a bunch of wolves start howling in your backyard or something to get you a sign, maybe stay away there. So FAA, the pride of Canada now, now that Raonic is kind of moving on, beat Alexander Zverev in a match where once again Zverev's mental issues kind of came back to haunt him there in the fifth. But these are two players that both have mental issues, so let's not just take everything away from FAA. What did you think of that win there by Felix? I did get to see the end of that one.
Yeah, I thought Felix played really well. I mean, it's like between him and Denise Shapovalov, the two of them are two guys that are in the bottom tier of their ability to save break points in tournaments, especially in majors. They're just young kids that just get nervous in these spots. But look, both of them have played really well. Shapovalov, I think, has saved like 85% or 80% of his break points in this tournament. Felix played good enough today to win. Look, you not that you don't want to take away credit from Felix's win because he played really well and he was able to serve out late, despite looking like he was a bit nervous. But at the end of the day, Zverev, the double faults, right? His second serve issues, not even just the double faults. He was serving in that 75 to like 85 mile per hour second serve neighborhood, which is like low on the women's end. So, I mean, he was just getting rockets back at him on some of those second serves. And then the double fault issues as well. Too many free points for him in that regard. I thought he played really well in rallies. I thought Felix also had a lot of unforced errors. This is why it's going to be a tough matchup for him against Berrettini, who doesn't really hurt himself. But I should just see it. Look, it's still a big win for the young kid who's finally kind of making that turn. I think a lot of people thought he would be a top 5 player, over a year and a half ago when he really started to make some noise. So it's good to see him finally popping and finally have a big match into the quarterfinals. But it does seem like this would be the spot he lays down.
And hey, JJ dropped a nugget in there for everybody that's getting new to tennis betting. When he mentions that second serve speed, that's a great way for us as viewers to get an idea of the mental space of the player that we're handicapping or watching, right? And the idea was Zverev, I mean, that showed me that his confidence was gone, right? When he's just putting them in, it basically just seemed like he didn't have confidence in his serve. He just wanted to get it in play and try to win from the baseline. But when you see a player, especially at this level, start to lose confidence, that's something to keep an eye on moving forward. So, and I passed over it, but Shapovalov had a great win over RBA today. Unfortunately, RBA didn't really play that well. It was really, I mean, Shapovalov is so tough for me to handicap because he can be so erratic. But we haven't seen any of that at all this week. What did you think of that match? And I mean, were you surprised that RBA just lost in straights?
Definitely surprised that he lost in straights. For me, if you've watched Denise play in this tournament, like I said, the big hurt on him is that he typically has these like hiccup sets. I mean, hiccup service games where like he'll cruise a lot, and he's got a really good first serve, and he'll cruise in most of his service games. But then he has like that one hiccup, which usually costs him. But when he's had that one hiccup thus far, he's been saving break points. So another match where he saved 80+% of his break points, and he converted well on the other side as well. But yeah, Batista got definitely not the type of match you've seen from him. I mean, what do you have? 14 total winners. Now, granted, he's not a big hitter, so it's not like that's crazy. But you'd expect more from him in that regard, and especially 22 on force as well, which I guess would kind of be on par. But his winners were way off. I mean, Denise had like 40+ winners or 40+ unforced errors and 50+ winners. So just another good quality match from him. I'm interested to see how he goes moving forward because he's very live. If he's a player that can just keep his nerves in check. Remember, this was the guy that gave Nadal quite a run. Was it in the French when he gave him a run? Was he stole a set or two from Nadal? So you can see when this dude's form is there, he can compete with the best of the best on their favorite surfaces. The nerves are an issue, which haven't popped yet, but any game that could be an issue. But look, he's playing really well. And again, another guy like a guy like Korda, he's a little more developed as far as Denise, but game really fits grass well, moves really well, good slices. He just got all the tools, a lot of different weapons to go to, which is perfect for this surface.
Yeah, it's too funny contrasting the young Canadians, right? FFA, so good from the baseline, a little more consistent where Shapovalov can just he's just so brilliant when he's on, but not always as consistent. So I've heard a lot of great conversations about who's going to have a better career, and maybe we'll circle back to that at the end if we have time. And I noticed as we're talking, it looks like Raducanu retired.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, a little bit surprising because I didn't see any health concerns for her going up into this. But now Isla will advance, and we'll have an idea of what our next one is. Federer rolled today. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised at 39 that he's still getting it done. I don't even really know what it says about the tour in general. I don't want to make like too many like grand statements because he is that good. But are you surprised that he's doing so well off basically barely any build up to this tournament?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, I've seen Federer kind of pop in and out of tournaments for the last few years and look really good at times. You just hope that he can stay healthy throughout this tournament, where it's not like the French where he had to kind of let down early. But look, I mean, he played a very informed Sonego today and only showed him 3 total break points all match. Yeah, I mean, this was an extremely impressive win. If you watch the match, just his ability to keep rallies going and just act like a wall. Sonego tried to continue to hit winners by him and couldn't get them by him. I thought Federer moved really well, mixed things up really well. And yeah, maybe something to come of that, for him in regards to how he can perform here. Because, I mean, he's another one. He beat Norrie, who Norrie only was able to grab a set from him, but Norrie's in great form. I mean, Gasquet is a bit of a, Jekyll and Hyde. He's not definitely in his best shape. Manarino kind of was starting to find himself a bit coming into this tournament. A guy who's been really struggling, but a good grass player. But he takes him 2-2, but he's been cruising since that match. Interesting to see how Federer plays out from here, but this was arguably, I'd say, his best match play of the tournament. Just outclassed Sonego in almost every aspect.
Yeah, and he's got to be dangerous for Djokovic regardless, just because of the mental aspect where he's already won. The nerves aren't going to be a big deal. So if he is able to get there, he obviously can cause some problems. Let's talk about the women's side real quick, and then we will preview tomorrow and Wednesday, and we'll give out some picks. The first match, boy, they were just hitting the cover off the ball. Sabalenka defeated Rybakina. I slept through this one. I missed it, but I saw the Sabalenka 1-3. And she's got a big match against Jabeur coming up tomorrow. Are you surprised to see the Belarusian continue her swing of dominance?
No. I mean, if anything, you'd argue she's only going to get stronger as we head into the hard courts. She's been tremendous. She's been in tremendous form. Her issue was always clay, though, where she always let down. And also, let's be honest, Fred, she's also been in majors, right? So it's
Hmm.
nice to see her kind of having some success here. Granted, we still she's still at a point where she's normally made it in these majors, but she would be getting into unfamiliar territory the more she wins. And yeah, she's going to have a severe challenge coming up, but she played really well today and did enough to win against a very much so informed Rabikina. So good for her, but yeah, Jabor's not going to be an easy matchup for her either.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Rybakina is the most impressive victory today. But then we go to our next one, and that's Ons Jabeur, and I had actually taken her against Swiatek, and I was actually just fading Swiatek on grass. Not that she's that bad, but she's still learning on this surface. Very young player, and she's a clay quarter through and through. Felt fortunate to get that one, especially after she lost the first set, 7-5. But Owens Jabeur, quite the story here. Did you get a chance to see that one? Because after that first set, she was dominant.
Yeah, so I watched a decent part of the match. I don't know exactly how the break points played out, the exact numbers off the top of my head. I mean, I could look them up, but I know for a fact that Iga didn't save one. So,
Yeah,
and I felt like she put a lot of pressure on Jabeur too, which might be an issue for Jabor's next match because Sabalenka's going to be putting a ton of pressure on her.
right.
It's just like how much weight can you really hold to Jabeur saving basically almost 90% of her break chances or her
Yeah.
break saves and then converting on the other end. That does tell you that the player's mentally right for those types of points.
Hmm.
But playing with a lot of fire today, and it was a little scary knowing that she's going to go up against Sabalenka next with those kind of glaring numbers from her last match against, especially a player like Iga, who, like you said, is not really mature on grass yet. She will
Yeah.
be, I believe, at one point, but she's not there yet, and she had put a lot of pressure on her through 3 sets. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Sabalenka should be in good form heading into that one.
Ash Barty beat the French Open champion Krejcikova 7-5, 6-3. I felt a little more routine than the scoreline there. I felt like Ash was in control the whole time, and Barty was a big favorite going in. We had some doubts about her, but I thought she looked pretty good in this match, and I thought that she should be the clear-cut favorite going forward after watching it. What did you think of that one?
Yeah, I mean, broken early, but bounced back quickly. I believe Krejcikova was going to serve for the set, I think, when Barty broke her back. It might have been before
Yeah.
that. Either way, yeah, from that point, it was match over. She was really never looking back. I mean, granted, I think Krejcikova at some point broke back in set two, but then immediately got broken again. So you're right. I mean, Barty, from the time that she broke back, was just in full control of the match. And yeah, I mean, this is what you'd expect from Barty, right? I mean, on this surface, her ability to slice as well as she does with the big serve. So she's going to be a tough out for anybody who sees her. And of course, she's number one player in the world. You'd expect this. But this has been somewhat of a watered down field as well. So you'd argue even from the beginning, this was her tournament to lose. So she's been playing really well, though, and living up to that.
Yeah, and number one player in the world, but remember, it is the watered down ranking system where she
Yep.
missed most of 2020. She chose to quarantine in Australia rather than play some of those tournaments, but she did take advantage of the protected ranking. To her favor, to her credit, though, coming back, she has definitely played strong, though. So it's not like she's just sitting on it, and today's performance, I think, says that. A player going under the radar, and I think it's because, if this was the Masters, or a 1,000, or Premier 5 or whatever they call them, we'd be all over her. But since she never does well in slams, I think that we just write her off, But Pliskova had a great win over Samsonova in a match where they were both just hitting the cover off the ball as well, both especially when they're serving.
Yeah, I mean, Pliskova hasn't even dropped a set this tournament. And look, it's not like she's been a bad grass player, but you're right. Another player that's significantly underperformed in majors, especially with how she's played in those ATP thousands and 500s. But yeah, she's played really well, and she hasn't exactly had a soft lineup to get here either.
Right.
Samsonova's been in tremendous form today, and she just absolutely roped her. Another player, though, that started out a little slow, got broken early. I believe she did anyway, and then bounced out of it, and then broke back, and then again from there, absolutely never looked back. Now the good thing with her is she kind of has like that serve bot to her on the ladies side, but no, she's been holding serve pretty well, and of course on this surface it helps to have the big serve. But interesting to see how her next match plays out. But she's looked real pure here thus far.
Yeah, and we'll get into our next match real soon. We got four more matches to go over. The next one we were opposite, but let me congratulate you because she got it done. After we had jumped off, we talked a little bit this morning, and then I went ahead and I had all eyes on that match. Boy, Badosa, when she blew the tiebreak there with the double fault, you kind of felt that the whole match was lost at that point, and then kind of kept through, right, and then in the final game. Did you watch the two lobs that Mahova hit? The second
Oh
one,
yeah. Oh,
she just
incredible.
threw her hands up. Like, what am I going to do? I mean, they
Incredible.
were just absolutely brilliant shots. And some of the things you were saying to me is that her having top five potential, I was seeing it in that second set because she took advantage of her opponent's mistakes, but then rather than give Badosa life, through great shot making, she took control and finished. I thought, a dangerous opponent because I thought Badosa was going to win. So, your thoughts on Mahova's match? Because she looked great and kind of lived up to everything you were saying this morning.
Yeah, so two of my favorite players to bet in the last 3 years in the WTA have been Bianca Andreescu and Karolina Muchova. So, and that has all to do with these are two players that, when they're fully healthy, they do not hurt themselves in matches. They do not egregiously double fault. They do not pile up unforced errors. They let their opponents come to them. Now, Bianca's a little bit of a different type of player because she's a little more power driven in terms of she's going to consistently go for those winners when they pop for her. Muchova is much more methodical. If you watch her play a lot of her matches, she just kind of like ebbs and flows. Like kind of feels her opponent out. And don't get me wrong, she's got a lot of pop on her racket, but you don't always see it from her. She's very content to keep rallies going back and forth with slices. She's probably one of the best lobbers on tour, and I'm sure that showed today.
Yeah,
She drops shots from anywhere in the court. And again, she's got an above average serve. And the big thing is she doesn't double fault much. She almost always serves at 60, 65%. Again, these are numbers that on the ladies' side, when you're that consistent, these are the type of players you want to be backing and you want to be betting. The problem with Muchova, of course, has been much like Bianca. She's been injury plagued. Okay, if she didn't deal with as many injuries as she's had, she would be spiking up the rankings. Also, I do believe the COVID rankings hurt her a bit because she's been playing really well. Granted, she stepped away for a bit with the abdomen issue, but yeah, if you watch her play spread and you saw her today, she's and she has great numbers against top players. She's just not somebody who backs down against anyone. And look at her strength of schedule in this tournament. She has not had it easy by any means. I mean, even if you think Georgie's kind of a letdown, I mean, Georgie was about to win Eastbourne before
right.
she retired with injury. I mean, she looked like the best player in that tournament. And then Muchova, grinds it out against her and then has another big few wins. To me, she's very live to win this tournament. I know I'm a little biased, and I know this is you're kind of stepping in unfamiliar territory with Muchova here at this stage. But I mean, the U.S. Open, she went deep. She won a few matches in the French. To me, she's very live to win it.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I really pulled out from there that you noticed that I noticed as well watching her is for a player as young as she is, she varies pace. Like an older veteran. She does a great job, like you said. She can dial it up, but she doesn't like on every shot. And that's something that Sabalenka is still working on, right? Just not hitting 100% on every shot.
My
She can learn a little bit from Muchova there.
Oh yeah, my actual favorite part about Muchova, because this is so rare on the ladies' side, is that just look at her body language at any given point in a match. You'll have no idea what the score is. She's not.
Yeah.
She doesn't ride high and low. She doesn't. No racket slamming. You'd have no idea what the score is at any point in a match by looking at Karolina Muchova play. And it just shows you. I think she's mentally right, and yeah, I mean she's built to win an open major. So it's only a matter of time. I mean, I've been rooting for this chick for a few years now. I've watched her play. I've seen her best. I'm hoping we get a little more good out of her here because to me it's been a long time coming. She's a really talented player.
Yeah, I mean the only reason we wouldn't want her to win is so we continue to bet her in these 500s and stuff, right? As she
Exactly.
continues to win. So JJ, I missed this one, but my girl Madison Keys, she got taken out by Golubic. I didn't bet it because Keys was too high, but that's not one that I saw coming. Golubic, Raducanu being out, but other than that, I would say she was the biggest surprise so far as a player that. I mean, I do rate, but I didn't see her doing this well. Did you see that match at all? Because I missed it.
Yeah, so Golubic played probably her best match of the year today.
Hmm.
It's not to put any discredit against her win or Madison Keys' form coming in, but I mean, you look at the numbers from the match too. I think it was like 30 winners to like 8 unforced errors. I mean, it was like just an incredible match against a player like Keys, who's often going to force you into unforced errors. And I didn't think Keys played that poorly, to be honest. The Golubic just played tremendous. The problem with a player like her is off a match like this, you wonder how possible it actually is for Lightning to strike twice in a row with her next match. Because again, she probably just played her best match of the year against Madison Keys. Can she follow it up with another big match? Maybe. But to me, I'm likely going to be looking to fade her. And look, I think she's playing Pliskova, right? I think that's who she's playing. So,
Yeah.
I'll be likely looking to fade. Look at the exact line. I think it was like minus 2 bills, Pliskova. So,
Yeah, on I got the men's up right now. On women's, I think she's Pliskova's minus 210. And let's see if we lay the games. What's the game spread?
Ooh, 3.5.
Minus 3.5.
Yeah, so I'll dig deeper into that.
Okay.
But for me, I always love fading a player off a ceiling type match like that.
Yeah.
However, her power that she showed in this match, those are the type of players that usually give Pliskova issues. She has no issues with players that are willing to rally back and forth with her because she'll just find
Mhm.
spots to hit winners. But it's usually the more players will pop in the racket, and Golubic here is just showing tremendous amount of pop in her racket in this tournament thus far. So I'll dig deeper into it. But yeah, first for sure, lean is going to be Pliskova. It'll likely be laying the games because Golubic's form back-to-back games would be tough to imagine.
Yeah, and if you've been watching JJ's videos for a while, we like to sell high, right? Like, an NFL team beats the Chiefs, look to fade them the next week. This could be kind of the similar situation there where I mean, she's already got to leave this tournament feeling great no matter what, right? I mean, she could get double bageled and she's going to walk out with her head high, one of the biggest checks she's ever had, a nice little 20-30 spot bump in the rankings, and feeling good going in the hard court. So maybe a sell high spot there on Golubic. Another one that I got wrong, but I'm not necessarily surprised by it because Angie Kerber, former champion, the Coco Gauff's run has come to an end. ESPN executives are in tears as their women's cash cow, has disappeared here. So I don't know who they're going to market now. Angie Kerber, though, hey, she the only former champion left in the draw? I believe so.
I do believe so. Yeah.
Now, obviously, Barty's a Slam champion, but that is it. Only Wimbledon champion left in the draw. What do you think of Kerber's performance today, and what do you think of her going forward?
Yeah, I think this was another match where Kerber's just a super smart player, right? Now, she might not have all the tools that she once had when she was in her true prime,
Hmm.
but you saw it today, right? So Coco Gauff, of course, is just going to try to consistently hit winners by her opponent. And Kerber was just getting everything back. I mean, it was a lot of like awkward hitting too. I don't know if you watched the match spread, but
Hmm.
Kerber was like on one knee, often sliding all the way left or right, just to get balls back in play. But you can tell that was purely the strategy, right? Just keeping volleys alive and let Coco Gauff make mistakes. And a lot of critical points Kerber won, whether it was 30-30s on her own serve, 40-30s. A lot of them got close. She was able to limit deuces. And look, when a player like Coco Gauff, who just never gives up, you got to, keep the foot on the throat, if you will. As far as how she's going to play out from here, I be my favorite bet of the tournament with Mahova as a dog against her.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it. And as we were talking, the fun story for the hometown Brits ended as Raducanu retired against Tomljanovic. We were watching this. I didn't have the volume on, but Isla obviously had the little spat with Ostapenko yesterday. She got the victory there. Now she gets the victory today. I'd say the good thing is because we know she's gonna have to play tomorrow. At least she didn't have to play the full time because I know a lot of people were talking about having to go into a match with Barty. With Barty getting the extra 8 hours of rest, wasn't the best situation for her. But what do you think of Tomljanovic's tournament so far? I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that she's done so well. I didn't really have my eyes on her to do well here.
Yeah, so she's not a player I often like to bet, and it has nothing against her specifically. I typically don't like betting on players that will live and die with their opponent's rackets.
Hmm.
Um, Elia's been good here, but what she's really been doing has been keeping volleys alive and limiting unforced errors. However, she's shown a bit more of pop in her racket in the form of being able to fire winners left and right, and you can tell she forced the young chick today into some severe issues within long rallies, where
Hmm.
again, you just kind of let them play out, let them play out, let them play out, and then unforced error, unforced error, unforced error. I don't think she's going to be as fortunate against Barty in that regard. But look, she's played really well. If she can continue to do this, where she almost acts like a wall,
Hmm.
it's she's going to be live. But yeah, you would think that Barty would be the type of player that would be able to take advantage of her lack of power off her racket.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think it's a great matchup for Barty, and I'll have to take a look. But coming from the same country, I'm thinking they're also going to be a little more familiar with each other. Although Barty taking a couple years off to play cricket, I mean, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I'm assuming they're also going to be familiar with each other's games. But you're absolutely right. Barty is the type that loves to pick apart these walls. She'll be fine to just sit there on the rally and wait for the situation. She's not going to force the issue like, say, maybe Ostapenko or Sabalenka would. Let's jump into the matches. I think these are all for tomorrow. Pliskova, minus 210 against Golubich. We already touched on it a tad, and you said you'll get back to it. My initial lean would just be to lay, like, not overthink it, lay the 3.5. Do you think that basically assumes, though, that she's going to win both sets? Do you think Pliskova wins 2-0 here?
I wouldn't even spread. I'll be honest. I wouldn't even go as far to think that has to be the assumption either, because it's not crazy to think that Pliskova opts to serve first and could win the first set 6-3, surrender a 6-4, and then win another 6-3, right? Because would that be 4? Would that land you right on 4?
Yeah,
I think so. So while of course we're trying to perfect a game script there, I do think that the sets could be not a bad wager. I don't always like making 2-0 set wagers because I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on your wager. To be very perfect, if you will. And look, you got the right player in Pliskova, and I do think it is a very much so of a my webcam, LOL. I do think it is a bit of a ceiling type match for Golubich coming into this match, where if maybe this was like an opening round match based on how the matches played out or the seeding played out, you'd figure Pliskova would be like 350 here. So the fact that she's 210, I get it. Golubich's form has been really good, and she looked really good today. But can she follow it up, and can lightning strike twice in a row for her? I don't personally think so. I do think the 3.5 bet is a very live bet, and even the sets wager could be live as well.
All right. Let's jump in and talk about the player who our guy Dexter Rojas thinks will reach the championship, and that's Ons Jabeur. She plays Sabalenka on FanDuel right now. She is plus 126, plus 2.5 games at minus 120. How do you see this match turning out? I think this is a very tough one to handicap.
Yeah, I mean, I got Sabby as a small favorite myself. I know that she's a bit bigger than that, though. So maybe some value on Jabeur. To me, Jabeur's a player that the market often loves, and you find her numbers almost like they're melted in there a bit with her. But look, I mean, she's still showing number. I think I saw recently before I went on this video, like plus 138 on FanDuel, which to me is kind of wild. Like I know Sabby's been good, and Sabby has the name and the ranking. But I mean, Jabeur's just a tough out. I think that if you're going to bet it, though, I think you probably play it over. Was it probably 22 or 21.5? Maybe you play 2.5 over 2.5 sets for dog money, for some sprinkle of change. But for me, my strongest lean would probably be the over. I do think you're going to get a back and forth. And one thing you've seen from Jabeur is that she doesn't give up, even if she gets broken early. She hasn't been giving up, and she's very willing to go deep into sets. So it wouldn't be crazy to think you get like a 12 or 13 game set 1 or 2, and then a 10er at the other end. And then, of course, if it goes 3 sets, you'll win also. So that would probably be my favorite look there. I think you're going to get a nice back and forth in that match.
Yeah, I think they priced that one pretty well. Karolina Muchova on FanDuel is plus 116 against Kerber. Are you going to go back to the well, or are you worried that this is where her run ends?
Yeah, so FanDuel opened it at plus 128. Fired on that immediately. That was, I mean, look, Muchova could lose this match. That's a complete misprice. Muchova's got no business. First of all, Muchova's got no business being an underdog in this match. I get it that Kerber just like laced Coco today, and that's going to be what people remember. Right. And Muchova, you could argue, depending if you bet Badosa, you could argue it felt like a Badosa meltdown more than a Muchova win.
I didn't think so, but I did feel that when she lost the first set, I didn't feel like my bet had a good chance, right? I mean, it just felt like that meant more than just one set, Just the way she lost it. It's got to be really. You got to walk over to your bench after double faulting away the set. I mean, it's just really tough to overcome. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, and it was tough, right? Because she was up 5-2 in the first set, and then up 5-2 in the tiebreak. So yeah, I mean, I get that aspect. For me, Kerber loves playing hard hitters because she can return a lot. She can frustrate players. Muchova has so many tools at her disposal that, to me, a player like Kerber, I mean, if Kerber thinks she's just going to volley back and forth and Muchova's going to make error after error, that's not Muchova's game. Muchova doesn't hurt herself. She doesn't double fault. I mean, Coco Gauff had a few double faults today. Coco Gauff was not good saving break points. Muchova's like ice water. So For me, it's just believe it or not, it's a very bad matchup for Angeline Kerber here, which is why I really like Mohova. I think the game should be at worst to pick them. I think Mohova should be $1.20. The fact that they have Kerber as a favorite to me is a complete overreaction based on how well she beat Coco Gauff, who's a very popular player in the tennis betting market these days, especially. But overall, yeah, probably my favorite bet of the tournament. Mohova as a dog here. No business being underdog. Look, could she lose? Of course she could lose if she goes out of character, if she does, if her first serve, loses her first serve and Kerber's able to rock it back seconds. But Mohova's just so crafty and she has so many different weapons. I would figure, and again, you get another player in Kerber off her ceiling match of the tournament. And let's not forget, spread, Kerber's previous 2 matches haven't exactly been peaches and cream either, and she had played very weak opponents. I do think you got a ceiling performance from Kerber. Meanwhile, Mohova, look who she's played in this tournament. To me, Kerber would just be another tough opponent for her that she's already been seeing all throughout. Assuming nerves are okay for her, this is a match I really like her to win.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hinted at what I was going to mention, and you had mentioned it earlier when we had done the recaps. Look at the strength of schedule here, right? Shuai Zhang in the first round, right? Okay, yes, the Chinese players aren't traditionally don't do well on grass, but Zhang is actually better than most. Then we talked about Georgie, who has the potential to beat anyone, any day. I mean, Serena, Barty, it doesn't matter. Georgie at her best can win these matches. And then Pavlyuchenkova, who came off of, a fantastic run. She's in great form. And then, like I said, the win today, Badoza, right? Then we'll go ahead and compare them to Kerber's wins, right? Stojanovic, she's a nice young player. She's not there yet. Two years away from that really being a good win for a top 20 player. Sorribes Tormo, yes, she's done well. She's got a lot better in the last year. Still, to go life and death with Sorribes Tormo on grass, not impressive. Sasnovich is another one. I really liked Sasnovich in 2018. She hasn't really improved. She's wildly inconsistent. Yes, she can look good at times, but at the same time, I don't rate those wins nearly as much as I do beating Pavlyuchenkova or Georgie. So while the win over Gauff today was impressive, let's remember it is a former champion just beating a teenager. I think I'm with you here on Mohova, as hard as it is to go against Anzi when you're watching her play in this form. We don't have a number for the final match, but that's going to be Tomljanovic versus Barty. I'm going to guess it's going to be like minus 275.
Sounds about right.
Okay. And to me, we'll just stay away, right? I don't want to get involved with Tomljanovic, and I don't want to lay that much. And I don't want to lay the -4 or 4.5 that would be correlated to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, because Tomljanovic has been basically like a gnat, right? I mean, she doesn't go away. She keeps rallies going. But, she's been very fortunate. She's played opponents who have piled up unforced errors. Now, granted, to a certain extent, you could argue that that's because Tomljanovic is doing a good job keeping rallies alive and putting extra pressure on her opponents. But, again, Barty's super smart. She's got a lot of pop in the racket. You would figure this would be the spot where she finally struggles.
And unlike some of her previous opponents, Barty's not going to get impatient.
Yeah.
She's going to wait until she really has the shot. I think sometimes against Tomljanovic, especially I watched Ostapenko do it, they got impatient and they tried to take command of the rallies too early. And it feeds right into Tomljanovic because now she's able to be more aggressive with the redirect of the aggressive shot. So I don't expect that to happen in Barty either. I mean, even at minus 250, I wouldn't be surprised if everyone loads her up in the parlays. Now, the women are my specialty, so we'll let you take over here a little more on these men's sides. But, I've watched enough, and I love this tournament, so I think I can give you some good opinions. Khachanov at plus 210 kind of caught my eye, though. What do you think of that one?
It's a match I want to completely avoid.
Okay.
and I say that because Khachanov's form has been really good here, but this is the best form I've seen Denise in his career in this venue. So for me, maybe the stars are starting to align for the young kid. Again, we always knew the issues with him, right? It was the random service game that becomes an issue, and his nerves on break points and break chances. He has been super good on break conversions and saving break points on his own racket thus far. Now, granted, he still has the hiccups. He did it against Murray too, where he was dominating the match multiple times, but the few times he went up a double break, he almost every time he gave back a service game, and it was just odd. It was almost like mentally, he just changes the way he thinks about the match if he's up a double break in a certain set, and it's odd, but this is the type of behavior you've seen from him. However, Khachanov's been very good here. He played a very long match against Korda. So how is that gonna, if it's gonna impact him in any way? but I do overall like Shapovalov there. It just won't be a bet I make. I can't lay
You can't lay that
the
much, and
number.
I wouldn't lay the games either, would you? I mean, I'm looking up at the game spread right now. 4.5. That's cashing out for nothing. I'm not laying 4.5 with Shapovalov. I mean, maybe you can make an argument for it. I just don't trust him to be consistent for the whole match.
Yeah, so I mean the issue with Shapovalov is to me he's either likely going to 3-0 him,
Yeah.
or this will be a grinded match that likely goes the distance. And for me, that's why it's not really worth betting. If he keeps his form that he's been doing, he likely 3-0s Karen here. But the problem is that I don't want to figure out what the mental state's going to be of him in this tournament in this match. So it'll just be a layoff spot for me.
Yeah, okay. And so I think we agree here, right? Because you say if it goes 3-0, and that's why I would argue, and we argue this a lot, when we do the tennis pod, just take the plus 210. Because if he doesn't get routined, right, he might just win the match outright. I think that you've got a good chance of just cashing the full ticket if he's able to stick with them there. But hey, if you want to stay away from this match, I see nothing wrong with that as well. Um, Here's a match where I definitely like the fave, and that's Isla's boyfriend, who just got off the court, and it's Matteo Berrettini going against Felix Auger Aliassime. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but whatever. It's minus 295. FAA is plus 235. Normally, a player that good, as good as FAA, getting that much plus money would be a bet for me. But Berrettini's been playing so well, I can't do it. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, for me, I'll dig deeper. So I don't see a Berrettini line at some of my spots, but I assume it'll pop at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I'm just using
Um,
FanDuel. Bookmakers doesn't even have it for me yet, and I don't have a game spread for this either.
but for me, I mean, yeah, this is a complete smash spot for Berrettini, and I'm not a big favorites guy. I often prefer dogs, so it's where the value lies for me in a lot with this sport.
Hmm.
But again, I know that Berrettini hasn't really played much thus far in this tournament, and you might look at some of the names on Felix's side and be like, "Wow, this dude's beating some good people." But like
Hmm.
Kyrgios stole a set. Kyrgios stole a set from Felix with an injury,
Hmm.
and Zverev today, I'd argue, really lost the match himself on
As
his own
usual.
record. And meanwhile, Berrettini has just been as solid as they come, and it's not like he hasn't played big servers. Like Ivishka's got a decent serve,
Hmm.
and Berrettini produced 12 break chances in 3 sets. Only showed him one break point. I mean, to me, this has got unforced errors for Felix piling up with winner opportunities for Berrettini. Yeah, so I'll look into the numbers, but 3-0 Berrettini for me, it'll probably be like plus 160, maybe even a little better than that.
Plus 210.
Yeah, so for me, that'll be a spot I'm likely going to look at.
Yeah, I might kind of go off some things we said earlier and just add Berrettini and Pliskova in a moneyline parlay. Hopefully, that would give me close to even money. And those are two players that we like, but we didn't necessarily know if we wanted to lay the games. I mean, on this one, we don't know, but it's tough. It's so tough on the slams when they switch it to. Maybe it'll be 5.5 at minus 295. I'm not sure. And then the last one, it's going to be quick for us. It's Fucsovics, Djokovic. Fucsovics is plus 2,000. We talked about it a tad about you not really wanting to even lay a set. I mean, is this just one that we just watch and enjoy? No reason to get involved.
Yeah, and I think that not to say that there's no credibility to people who want to bet the dog here or lay this hets with Djokovic. I just feel like you're not really handicapping the skill levels. You're really handicapping the mental headspace on Djokovic specifically, because if Djokovic wants to 3-0 him, he will when this match gets played. If he's in the mood to try to fix certain things about his game mid-match, where he kind
Hmm.
of starts experimenting mid-match with certain things, because you see that, right? And it kind of goes without saying. You see this often in like the ATP 250s and 500s, where you'd be watching a player coming in and you're like, why is this player doing this? But sometimes players use certain matches to just work on certain, parts of their game. And I'm not to say that Djokovic is going to start exploring mid-match here, but it wouldn't be crazy to me to think that he might start trying a bit of variety here. This is not a match he's going to lose. So it's not going to be crazy for me to think that he's going to start doing certain odd things within the match, which you got kind of leave yourself scratching your head about. But either way, again, if he wants to win this match 3-0, he will. So it won't be a spot I want to bet.
All right. Well, that was pretty awesome. Did you have any futures you want to give out, or do you want to just go straight into giving these guys some bets?
No, we could talk on some bets.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the futures real quick. Barty's plus 200, Sabalenka's plus 440, Kerber's plus 500, Muhova plus 950. That's the only one that really. That one and Pliskova at plus 700 are the only ones that really catch my eyes at this point. But I don't really feel like giving one of those out today. We did some quarters on my pod, so I'm sitting on owns to win the quarter, and I'm pretty happy about that one right there. So, what is your best bet for the day, JJ?
Yeah, 100%. So that's Mohova. Right now, you can get at plus 116 at FanDuel. I don't know which way that's going to move or not, but she has no business being an underdog there.
Kerber's been really popular with the market. I think that you could potentially wait and get some.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got it at 128 when it opened. It moved, it dipped down a bit. Well, dip down. I mean, also keep this in mind, spread. Mohova sees money. Like she's not a player that doesn't see money. She often sees money. I mean, Badosa, there was a lot of money on Badosa today, and the line went reverse. Mohova sees money. I think people realize this chick can play. Now, granted, in my opinion, I just don't understand why Kerber's favorite. So the fact that if Kerber becomes a bigger favorite, to me, it would be quite shocking for a few different reasons. But I do think that this line will likely stabilize where it is. I think you'll see good two-way money here on both sides. But either way, I do think you can.
So you say give it out now? Okay, and that's fine.
I think you can bet it now because again, which way will this move? It's hard to say exactly, but it would not surprise me in the least if I woke up tomorrow morning and this was a pick'em. So yeah, I think you can jump on Mohova as a slight dog because she has no business being an underdog.
Jonathan Nelson, you gotta love this ticket, right? He's got 16-1 right now.
Yeah, I think that for me, Kerber's the trickiest matchup for Mohova moving forward because a lot of what's left in this tournament are hard hitters, and Mohova, I mean, she's built to beat hard hitters because she's very crafty. Kerber is the one that could be a bit of a hiccup, primarily because of Kerber's ability to mix things up. But again, I mean, to me, Mohova shouldn't be losing to a player like Kerber at this stage of the tournament. There's also the nerves aspect. Mohova's about to go into territory that she's never been in a major. She's definitely never won a major, and I don't even think she's made a semi in a major before. So we're going to start getting into unfamiliar territory for her. So you'd figure nerves could become an issue. But if you watch her play spread, she's as calm, as collective as any player in WTA. So hopefully that won't be the case. But yeah, time will tell. But yeah, I hope she wins it. It's been a long time coming. She's too good not to have a major win at this point.
Yeah, Bjorn Borg is definitely probably watching her there and being pretty excited about the way she looks. I'm going to go ahead and give out something that we discussed. And yes, I'm playing it safe. And yes, I'm being kind of square. But at this point of the tennis season, I think that the favorites become more valuable. When I love the dogs is going to be next week at the 250s where, people are going to be coming in and they're be these big names against these young people, but these young people are really going to want the tournament, and the big names aren't going to care because they're going to be pretty upset that they lost this week or last week. So I'm going to go with two favorites here. I'm going to parlay Pliskova and Berrettini. That should get me pretty close to even money. I don't have Bookmaker up, and I can't officially use FanDuel, but that's going to go ahead and be my best bet for the day. So JJ likes Mohova.
I like that. Yeah. I might jump on with you.
Yeah, JJ likes Mohova. I like Pliskova, Berrettini. JJ, thanks for hanging out talking. I mean, this went a little longer than I thought. We got a lot to talk about on this tennis, so we'll definitely have to do it again. Just keep following the Run Pure Bets Twitter page at Run Pure Bets. Obviously, say subscribe to this channel so you'll get notified in case we do a bad job of promoting it. We're going to be trying to get involved with Susie, Matty Ice, AP. We'll continue to bring some Wimbledon coverage next week and continue this style of format moving forward as tennis kind of takes center stage for the next month on ESPN as they play in Washington, San Jose, Cincinnati, Montreal, Toronto, all building up to the U.S. Open, which, coincidentally, the men's final is the first day of the NFL season, or the first Sunday of the NFL season. So it's perfectly set up for us. We're going to have a lot of fun betting, profiting, and cashing these tickets. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Another reminder, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Anything else you want everyone to know, JJ, about the content we got coming up this week?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, I'll have another baseball video for you guys tonight. For tomorrow, we'll talk golf with Mangone, Uncle T, Bobby Gomes, and our guy Snyder for tomorrow. Right. And then, there'll be, spread. We'll pop in and out with some more tennis and NBA coverage with some of the DFS guys, like you mentioned. Joey Work will have some more baseball as well midweek. So, yeah, should be a fun-filled week on the channel, all things considered. But thanks, as always, folks, for watching.
Yeah, and we will let you know on the next tennis show. But for now, this is for sure. It's already scheduled. Tomorrow afternoon, morning for me, 1 Eastern, I'll have JSU, Travis, Tyler. We will have a finals breakdown show. And Tyler and I are on opposite sides. We've been arguing in the DMs. We're going to take these arguments straight to the YouTube channel so you guys can enjoy it. Thanks for everybody for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.